Hi, I'm Damion Merry from Luxury Property Partners, and today my article looks into: has the Oxford or UK property market peaked, and should you buy now or wait for the potential bargains? So many commentators believe we have seen the peak of the property market here in Oxfordshire and the rest of the UK. So should savvy bargain hunters wait for prices to fall, or could postponing your house buying for any anticipated house price drop be a massive and costly mistake? So over the last 2 years, the Oxfordshire property market has been an absolute roller coaster ride of hyperactive demand, together with a new sport of getting your offer accepted when you compete with 30 other bidders. Yet there are clouds on the horizon that the property market could be at its absolute peak. The Bank of England interest rates have increased 4 times in the last few months to try and combat inflation. Meanwhile, many Oxfordshire households are finding it tough to counter the most significant drop in real incomes in a single year since records began in the mid-50s, all at the same time as gas, heating, oil and electricity prices are predicted to rise again in the autumn. Hence why some economists are predicting house price drops in the coming 18 to 24 months of 3 to 5%. So surely this is not the best time to buy a property in Oxfordshire or the UK, and surely savvy buyers should wait for the property prices to fall. Is it realistic to see double-digit national house price growth? Certainly not. The question is how far the Oxfordshire property market will slow and whether the slowing will drop into modest falls. So I want to look at household incomes first. At best, the outlook is gloomy, as real household disposable income is set to drop by 2.4% next year and the year after, the largest drop since records began in 1956. This is despite the £17.5 billion of financial support for British households revealed in the Rishi Sunak Spring 2022 statement, with the national insurance thresholds, energy bill support package and duty cut on petrol. Without these changes announced by the Chancellor, real household disposable income would have fallen by an additional 1% this year and next. So secondly, as interest rates increase, mortgage rates will increase in line, increasing mortgage costs. So surely that will curtail demand, meaning Oxfordshire house prices will probably drop and buyers should wait to catch a bargain. That's the big question. But finally, with inflation on the rise, the real value of people's savings will decrease quicker and the value of their deposits will diminish, meaning Oxfordshire prices will surely drop and people should wait to buy. But surely the Oxfordshire property market has peaked and buyers should wait to get these bargains. In my mind, I don't think so, and these are the reasons why I say it. So I believe, subject to no significant shocks in the world's economy, Oxfordshire house price growth will be very slow in the next 18 to 24 months and go into the low single digits, even the odd month dipping ever so slightly into the red. But it's not the 16% to 19% annual drop we saw in 2008-2009. So it's time to look at the real household income. Every economist predicts growth in real household income 2023 and 2024 by around 1%. If the 2 years are combined, the predicted effect on real household income in the next 2 years is a net loss of 1.4%, whilst in the credit crunch years of 2010, 11 and 12, the net loss was 2.7%. So I was looking at the increase in mortgage rates. 80% of owner occupiers have fixed their mortgage costs and had their affordability stress tested to Bank of England interest rates of 3 to 4% under the mortgage market review rule and changes in 2014. And I believe the most significant impact of increasing interest rates will be at the point of taking on a new mortgage by first-time buyers, as opposed to servicing or porting of an existing mortgage from one house to the next house. The 4 successive Bank of England base rate rises, inflation and the rising cost of living are likely to bring more cautiousness over summer and autumn when it comes to people buying a property. Yet there is still a massive imbalance of demand for property over the number of properties for sale to quench the demand. The potency of the job market and the ongoing mismatch between the supply of properties mentioned in my article last week and the properties on the market and demand for those will support property values. And finally, by the product of increasing inflation is that it makes buy-to-let more attractive. And if there's a reduction in first-time buyers, this will be counterweighted by more landlords buying again, supported by the current level of Oxfordshire properties. So what if Oxfordshire house prices drop significantly? So I want to assume that the prices do fall, irrespective of the reasons I've just mentioned. It will not inevitably help Oxfordshire buyers. If we have a house price crash, people tend to find their careers are at risk and their salaries don't rise as much. The younger generation, the first-time buyers, often get hit the toughest by recessions. But if the first-time buyers wait until 2024 to buy and Oxfordshire property values drop by 10%, that will prove even more expensive. So in the last 2008-2009 crash, lenders weren't offering 5% mortgages. The lowest deposit mortgage that first-time buyers could get was a 10% deposit, and even then they were hard to come by. When I wrote this article yesterday, first-time buyers can obtain a 5% mortgage for a fixed rate of 2.66% for 5 years. The typical first-time buyer terraced house in Oxfordshire sells for around $512,000. So if they were to buy now on this mortgage deal, the first-time buyer would have to stump up a £25,640 deposit, and their mortgage payments would be around $1,800 a month. Yet let's say property values in Oxfordshire do drop by 10% in the next 18 months, the terrace house would now be worth 460 grand, so it's a significant saving. Or is it? Everybody believes that interest rates will further, so let's assume that they rise by 3% by the autumn of next year. That means the mortgage rate for a 10% mortgage will be in the early 5%. So let me assume that 5.3%, because of the banks tend to increase the gap in the base rate and the mortgage rate in the recessions basically allows for extra risk. So the monthly mortgage payment on the 5.3% mortgage will be around £2,200 per month, and you would need it to double your deposit to about £46,000. So even if Oxfordshire prices did drop by 10%, the first-time buyer would be £4.5 grand worse off a year in mortgage payments and would have to find double the deposit. And then there's the other cost of waiting. So you have 2 years worth of rent to pay. The average rent for an Oxfordshire property is £2.5 grand a month, and if you waited a couple of years for Oxfordshire prices to drop by 10%, you would spend about 56 grand in rent. And choosing to buy an Oxfordshire property makes even more economic sense if it's a long-term choice, as homeowners can ride out any price drops. So homeowners who plan to stay in a property can generally rely on getting their money back within 6 to 10 years whilst not paying any rent. So will Oxfordshire prices go up, or will they go down? Remember, George Osborne said house prices would drop by 18% in May 2016 if we voted to leave the EU, whilst many economists said they would drop by 5% to 10% when COVID hit in March 2020. We all know what happened. If you think you'll be better off owning your Oxfordshire home rather than renting one, don't bother to wait for the suggested house price drop that, it might actually not even happen. So these are my thoughts. I hope this helps. This is Damion from Luxury Property Partners, and I'll come to you soon with my next article. Thank you.